aware of the memo that he had written. He was aware of the somewhat aggressive stance that Barr had taken on the obstruction of justice theory. He believed the special counsel was pursuing, and that's why he got the job. I think he'll be mistaken in his interpretation, but I do think there are still questions about whether Barr is going to allow the release of either Mueller's final report to him or some version of that report that he then writes for the public. If he gets in a fight with the White House where the White House wants to claim executive privilege or the White House wants to take some other aggressive view of their powers, that's a place where Barr's, pledges to Congress to be transparent are going to come up in opposition to his long-standing views of presidential power, and we're going to have to see how that shakes out.
Hey, Peter, I try never to ask you to express a judgment, but do you have any sense that the investigation has entered any kind of new phase? Did anything change effective today or this week?
Well, look, I think that the difference between Bill Barr and Matt Whitaker in terms of overseeing the investigation probably are not terribly significant. At least, once the management of this investigation left Rod Rosenstein's hands, I think that's the bigger change. Bill Barr, obviously, the Senate confirmed Attorney General as opposed to an acting Attorney General, presumably has more authority, more clout in making a decision like the one that we're talking about right now. But I think Bob Mueller's office has been very aware of the sword of Damocles has been hanging over them for quite a while. And I imagine that they're rushing to get what they can done in whatever timely fashion they can, and that they have taken some sort of precautions, or there's some sort of plan B involved in case they find the plug pulled on their operation.
Our thanks to our consequential group on a consequential Thursday night, to Peter Baker, to Clint Watts, to Barbara McQuaid, to Matt Miller. Really appreciate it. Thank you all. And coming up, we'll have the latest on the other big news of this day, that funding deal to prevent another shutdown. Two reporters right now in the thick of it will join us tonight. And later, why some very smart people are asking out loud whether Paul Manafort could be a Russian agent. If you were watching us last night, you witnessed this moment, what it all could mean for Donald Trump as the 11th hour is just getting started on this consequential Thursday night.
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis, little things can be a big deal. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ready to treat differently with a pill? Otezla. Show more of you.
The F-Pace, the SUV with the heart of a Jaguar. Visit your Jaguar retailer during the Impeccable Timing sales event.
Hey, renovators. Time to dream bigger.
Wayfair, you're my new secret weapon. You got what I need for my renovation. I love all these options, so much to choose from. Bedrooms and basements, even my kitchen, your service is sweet. And my job is complete. Wayfair, here I come.
Start your renovation at wayfair.com.
Welcome to Atlantis, where unexpected moments become lifelong memories on an island called Paradise at a place called Atlantis.
Book by February 28th for the best rates at 1-800-ATLANTIS or AtlantisBahamas.com.
When did you see the sign?
When I needed to jumpstart sales. Build attendance for an event.
Help people find their way. Fast Signs designed new directional signage and got them back on track. Get started at fastsigns.com.
If you're one of the millions who suffer with nighttime acid reflux, you know how terrible nights can be. You've tried everything to get relief, from the burning, the gagging, and the intense pain that keeps you and your partner from getting the sleep you so desperately need.
Now there's a far more effective, drug-free way to relieve the symptoms of nighttime acid reflux and GERD.
It's the doctor-developed and doctor-approved Medcline Reflux Relief Pillow. The incline base with patented arm pocket, coupled with the side-sleeping body pillow, ergonomically places you in the optimal position to treat nighttime reflux. In fact, research shows that 95% of Medcline users report an overall improvement in the quality of their sleep.
It's been completely life-changing.
Medcline gave me my life back.
Take advantage of this exclusive TV offer and try Medcline risk-free with our 100-night relief guarantee. Complete with machine-washable cases, your entire order will even ship for free. Act now and save over $100 through this limited-time offer.
Over on Capitol Hill, this dueling set of proposals that's coming up on the Senate floor. Most of that was sort of a function of time, so that senators would go ahead.
Hallie, I apologize to you. We're going to listen here to the majority leader.
I'm sorry, Hallie.
We are live on MSNBC, sir. What progress have you made in there?
I've just had an opportunity to speak with President Trump, and I would say to all my colleagues, has indicated he's prepared to sign the bill. He will also be issuing a national emergency declaration at the same time. And I've indicated to him that I'm going to support the national emergency declaration.
Emergency declaration sounds like a great idea. The Majority Leader Mitch McConnell turned some heads on the Hill today when he announced that, again, you heard him say Trump would sign the agreement to avoid another shutdown. And, oh, by the way, he's going to declare a national emergency to fund his border wall. As of tonight, both the Senate and House have now passed the funding bill. And the White House says the president's going to sign it. We learned tonight he plans to hold an event tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time in the Rose Garden on the broader topic of border security. Our friend Peter Baker, the New York Times, who we were just talking to, reports tonight, quote, the emergency declaration combined with the $1.375 billion in the spending measure dedicated to fencing and other reprogrammed funds would allow the president to put together about $8 billion for barriers along the border, according to administration official, but more than the $5.7 billion he had been seeking from Congress. Some lawmakers quickly pushed back on the news that Trump intends to declare this national emergency. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she may file a legal challenge, accused the president of making an end run around Congress. That not much is obvious enough. She also said a president with different values might offer a much different emergency declaration.
I know the Republicans have some unease about it no matter what they say, because if the president can declare an emergency on something that he has created as an emergency, an illusion that he wants to convey, just think of what a president with different values can present to the American people. You want to talk about a national emergency? Let's talk about today, the one-year anniversary of another manifestation of the epidemic of gun violence in America. That's a national emergency. Why don't you declare that emergency, Mr. President? I wish you would.
With us tonight, two of our returning veterans, Tolu Olorunipo, White House correspondent for the Washington Post, and Kelsey Snell, congressional reporter for NPR. And Tolu, I'd like to read you something from your newspaper. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell was on the phone with Trump at least 3 times during the course of the nerve-wracking day, pressing him to stay the course, asserting the Democrats had actually lost the spending fight. 2 people familiar with the conversation said, "We thought he was good to go all morning, and then suddenly it's like everything is off the rails," said one senior Republican aide. So, Tolu, is the chance that somebody got him on the phone, is that how much of a razor's edge we're on here?
Yeah, that story by my colleagues just conveys how mercurial and impulsive this president is. You don't know what he's going to do from one moment to the next. You have multiple people trying to get the president on the phone, trying to make sure they're the last person that speaks to him before he makes a final decision. And you heard these feverish negotiations going on today, even after the bill had been negotiated, after Democrats and Republicans had ironed out all the details that they wanted. They did not know that whether or not the president was on board. They believed he was on board, and then at the last minute, he maybe heard from some people on talk radio or some of his conservative allies that were saying that the bill was not as conservative as it should be, did not give him enough money for the wall as it should, and he was starting to wobble. And that's why the Senate Majority Leader had to get the president on the phone, give him some assurances, say that he himself, Senator McConnell, would support the National Emergency Declaration, something that he had been opposed to in the past, in order to get the president to sign this bill and make sure we did not have another government shutdown shutdown. So this was a very harrowing day in congressional negotiations, with the president really poised to blow everything up at the final minute. But the Democrats and Republicans were able to make sure that the president was on board with what they had put together. And it looks like we're going to avoid the government shutdown, but we are going to have that national emergency declaration, which could be a political crisis of its own.
So, Kelsey, over to you. We did our checking, and it looks like the first recorded talk of a national emergency that we can find was January 4. So that would make this a kind of slow-rolling national emergency. Was there eye-rolling among Republicans that you could sense today who just can't own this intellectually? They can't be honest about it. They really would like nothing to do with this.
Not just eye-rolling, there was some real concern from a number of Republicans that I talked to. Now, we've been asking them about this for weeks, since the beginning of January, as you mentioned, and many of them were warning from the jump that they didn't think that declaring a national emergency was the right way to handle this. Now, a lot of them, even the most fervent opponents to the concept, were a little cautious today. They largely were saying things like, we need to see exactly how the president's going to structure this. We need to see exactly what powers he's going to call on. But there were people like Senator Rand Paul who explicitly said there are separations of powers in the Constitution for a reason. And allowing somebody to declare a national emergency about anything at all means that those lines start to get blurred. And it was something that he was particularly concerned about, and he wasn't alone. I talked to over a dozen Republican senators today, and really I could only find one or two who said that they could see a way that this might be okay. The rest found other ways to hedge around the fact that they were not comfortable with this concept.
Both of our guests have agreed to stay with us. We're going to sneak in a break here. When we come back, we're going to have to